Hey, third graders, it's Mrs. Linderman. We read Manjhi Moves a Mountain, and today we're going to talk about a very important part of that story. I'm going to read this chart with me. It says using illustrations, right? It's really important that we understand that not only do we get information from words in a story, but the illustrations give us really important information as well. We get some insight. That means kind of that tunnel vision into the plot, the characters, and the setting. Now, I know you're familiar with the characters and you're familiar with what setting is. Remember, plot is what the story is all about. It's all those details that make up the story. If you remember, we worked on Plot Mountain when we did our personal narratives back in the fall, so we'll revisit that in just a couple of minutes. Today, we're going to look at illustrations. But before we do that, I want to read these two sentences to you. And as I read them, I want you to visualize, picture in your mind, right, a scene. Joe's family sang and they all ate cake. It was a merry time for all. Okay, so ask yourself, right, what do you picture happening in a picture of this? Did you see something similar to this? I bet not, right? Using illustrations help us find meaning in a story. Okay, now this is just one photograph of one moment, but there were a lot of illustrations in Manjhi Moves a Mountain. So now when you look at this photo and we read the same sentences, Joe's family sang and they all ate cake. It was a merry time for all. You have a very different idea of what's happening, right, in the story, if you will. Okay, look at that and see all those details. I see streamers, balloons. I see people with lots of smiles on their faces. I see a cake with some candles on top. Right? I see little kids. I see adults. I see older people, right? Because I can tell by their hair color, they might be a little older than some of the other people. I notice the setting as far as where they are, the location, maybe even the time of the year that this is taking place. Okay, I didn't have any of that information when I just read the two sentences. So today, what you're going to get to do for your assignment is fill out this sheet on Manjhi Moves a Mountain. Okay, I'm going to give you an example of how to do it using that photo that we just looked at. You're not writing on this slide. You're going to be writing on the copy that's in your Google Classroom. And I'm going to give you some very specific pictures because the directions say, draw an illustration from the book. Okay, and I'm going to give you a setting picture and a character picture that I want you to sketch yourself. Okay, or you know what, maybe I'll just put the pictures on there and then you can pick a picture from the story of your own to do for plot. I think that's what we'll do instead. Okay, but let me show you how you're going to do this because it does say in the directions, how did this illustration help you get more information? So pictures help us just like the words do. So let me show you my example. Here's that same picture of Joe, right, and his family. And here's how I described the setting and what I learned from the setting. So the very top part, I said, I learned that they are outside at a park having a party. I'm inferring it might be spring or summer because the grass is green. The weather is warm because people are wearing short sleeves and sandals. I got all that information from that picture. I could write a lot more too. Now, thinking about the characters, I wrote, I think Joe might be a grandpa because he has gray hair. His family is with him and they look happy because they're smiling and clapping. Joe looks very moved because of the look on his face. Look at, he has his hands clasped together, right, kind of up to his mouth. He looks very appreciative. He's looking at his cake. He looks surprised. So maybe it was a surprise party. And at the bottom, the plot. Okay, I put a little poster here of Plot Mountain. This is from the video that we watched and learned from in the fall. Remember, a plot has 5 different parts. It has the introduction. Sometimes that's called the exposition, which is how we start something. Then it starts with the rising action. Remember, that's going up the mountain. And at the top is the climax, the most exciting part of the story. And then the falling action and the resolution, which is when something ends or gets fixed, right? So these are the parts of the plot mountain in a story. Now, I don't have a story here. I just have a picture. So my description of what I learned from the plot is pretty simple because it's not an entire story. So I wrote, the family is having a birthday party at a park outside. They are enjoying cake and celebrating Joe's birthday. Right? I didn't know it was a birthday party from just the sentences. I knew that they were eating cake, right? And they were having a merry time, but I didn't know it was a birthday until I saw the picture. So when you're working on your sheet from Manjhi Moves a Mountain, I'm going to give you a picture for the setting. I'm going to give you a picture for the characters from the story. You can draw your own picture from the book, right, as you describe the plot. And remember, plot is just what's happening in the story. It's like all the events that occur, and it takes you, the reader, on a journey through the story, right? It has all those different parts. You don't have to talk about all those parts, but I want you to kind of wrap up for me what the plot is, what's happening in this story. Remember, your copy will be in your Google Classroom, okay? So you'll look for that there. These are the pictures from the book that you're going to use for the setting and the characters. Okay, remember this is at the beginning of the story, and we can see the mountain in the middle, and we can see both of the villages, right? They're very different. The side that Manjhi comes from, right, and the side that they want to go to. And then for the characters, this was the part from the story where Manjhi now is an older gentleman, right? And he's got children helping him, kind of walking with him. These children are mimicking what he does, using those same types of tools, the chisel, right, and the hammer, and then some of the villagers in the background. So these are what you're going to describe, and you're going to explain how they helped you learn about part of the story. All right? Tomorrow, or the next day we work on this, we're going to talk about vocabulary and challenges, lots of different things from this story. Remember, I told you we're probably going to spend 2 weeks on this story because it's full of so much good stuff.